therefore I am going to find that there is probable cause to charge the individual for General Sessions Court for both charges.
This is Dylan Shoemaker. He was sentenced to life in prison after a jury found him guilty of murdering 1-year-old Austin Smith. Shoemaker was 16 years old when he assaulted the defenseless toddler for many hours while at home. The incident happened at Shoemaker's mother's home, where he had been living after his release from a drug recovery program. His girlfriend, Ashley Smith, and her children had been residing at the residence since her own family had kicked her out. He confessed to slapping the toddler for spitting food, hitting his head on the floor while changing his diaper, and placing a pillow over the child's head and punching him repeatedly while the child was wailing. He also said that the youngster had fallen down the steps at one point. Shoemaker was not Austin's father and just looked after the child while his mother was at work. During his trial, he claimed that he had not been taking the medicine recommended to treat his attention deficit disorder and anger issues, and that he had no intention of killing Austin.
I didn't mean to kill Austin. Ashley, I really didn't. I really think I did that. I didn't mean to hurt him.
My client's inability to either control his anger or frustration, and his inexperience in babysitting.
The appeal judges concurred unanimously in their decision to decrease Shoemaker's sentence, saying that the sentence imposed is unduly harsh and severe in light of the defendant's youth and lack of parental guidance, his lack of prior criminal convictions, and his mental health issues. In the same judgment, the justices called Shoemaker's claim that he had no intention of killing Austin self-serving.
Ashley, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you, son. And you know I didn't mean to hurt you. You just can't accept that. Because you know me. You've known me for 5 years. I never would have wanted to hurt Austin.
In his appeal, Shoemaker claimed that his counsel should have sought a defense of extreme emotional disturbance, which the court dismissed.
And I got a quote from the court reporter. I am a 16-year-old blonde. Probably all I have to do is cry in front of the jury, and they're going to feel sorry for me, end quote.
They said that counsel is not required to provide arguments that have little or no chance of success. The sentence was reduced to an indeterminate term of 18 years to life by the appeals court. That means Shoemaker will be eligible for parole after serving 18 years in prison. He would be under state surveillance for the rest of his life if he was freed. The court panel dismissed Shoemaker's additional arguments and affirmed the murder verdict. This is Shondell Jackson. Jackson was found guilty of first-degree intentional killing and robbery of Nathan Potter, a 21-year-old University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee student. Jackson and 20-year-old Derek Thomas tried to rob Potter as he walked home to his apartment and fatally shot him. Potter was not carrying any cash. During the trial, Jackson exhibited no regret or sadness for the victim's death or his crime, and even smirked at the victim's relatives as he was brought out of the courtroom. During the trial, Potter's father, John Potter, addressed Judge Rebecca Dallett, saying,
"There's nothing that can be said to bring back our Nathan. But your sentence can ensure that Shondell does not have the opportunity as a free man to inflict pain like this again. Is there such thing as pure evil?"
Jackson became aggressive after being sentenced to life in jail with no prospect of release, cursing the judge. As the television reporter stated, the police in the courtroom moved fast, as if they anticipated it, which they did because of the convicted killer's actions during his trial. Officers who used pepper spray on him had to detain him. Members of Jackson's relatives in the back of the courtroom began shouting obscenities at Potter's mother following the sentence, yelling, and "God's the judge," underscored the charged emotions gripping the scene. This is Jacob Matthew Morgan. He murdered his infant half-brother after setting fire to his house. He openly sobbed in court as he was sentenced to 15 years in prison.
So therefore, I am going to find that there is probable cause to charge the individual General Sessions Court for both charges.
Morgan sobbed as he admitted to lighting the fire that killed 14-month-old Joshua Hill in March of 2015. The teen's family from Rock Hill, South Carolina, has stayed by him since his arrest, and his mother, Julie Hildover, argued in court on Tuesday that he is innocent. "We have always maintained his innocence. We know our son, and we know the evidence against him is horrifying. But I know in my heart that my son, my eldest son, is innocent," she said.
I love my brother. I still do to this very day. He's my best friend. To kill him would be killing a piece of myself. And I just wish I could have gotten to him in time.
Deputy Counsel Willie Thompson said at a prior hearing that Morgan stood outside the burning house, did not ask for assistance, and did not rescue his younger brother, all of which demonstrated malice. Morgan's parents, however, claim that he was urged to remain away from the fire by his neighbors, who held him back when he attempted to return inside to rescue his brother. They also claim that Morgan, who has developmental difficulties and fails to read and write, confessed to lighting the fire under pressure following a 5-hour questioning session that was not recorded. Morgan told investigators many different stories about how the fire originated. Authorities said he first claimed he accidentally dropped a pillow near a heater, but subsequently said he ignited a pillow on fire and flung it in the air. According to fire specialists, evidence suggests that 2 fires were lit, one in the living room and the other on a blanket in Joshua's master bedroom. Prosecutors reportedly said Morgan told cops he was intrigued by fire and had started one in the residence 2 weeks before. The defendant eventually testified that he had never gone back to sleep, that he was playing with tea candles and lighting them up, and that he had a fascination with fire, Mr. Thompson said. Morgan sobbed and slumped on the floor at a preliminary hearing last year as prosecutors described the trailer park fire that killed Joshua.
Today is a final day for me in this tragedy that you, Martise, caused for this family, the family of a young girl that you murdered.
This is Martise Fuller. He was found guilty of shooting and murdering Kaylee Juga, 15, and injuring her mother, Stephanie Juga. For Juga's murder, Wagner sentenced Fuller to life in prison without the possibility of supervised release. The sentences for attempted murder and burglary are to be served simultaneously, subsequent to the life term. Prosecutors said Fuller blamed his expulsion from school and banishment from the football team on Kaylee and her mother. They said Fuller, who was 15 at the time, arranged to get a pistol and ammo from a buddy and had a relative dispose of a gun that resembled the one used in the killing. On the afternoon of May 9th, 2019, the mother and daughter were upstairs in their house just after returning home from school. Fuller crept in via the open garage door as the family was preparing to go camping. Prosecutors cited Fuller's intimate knowledge of the house, Kaylee's daily itinerary, and the fact that he had visited the house before the shooting. Kaylee died at the scene after being shot 5 times. Stephanie Juga recognized Fuller as the individual she encountered on the 2nd floor of her house and was subsequently shot while attempting to flee. Kaylee was subsequently discovered lifeless on her bedroom floor by Juga.
She was always by my side, and she was my biggest cheerleader. Now I'm lost. I just feel so lost without her.
Stephanie Juga said through tears Friday afternoon. Juga claimed Fuller ruined her and described all of the milestones stolen from the Bradford High School sophomore, in addition to the physical scars and agony that continue to this day.
We don't get to see her graduate high school this year. We don't get to see her go to college. We don't get to see her get married or adopt children like she wanted to.
Prosecutors sought the highest punishment in the case, which stemmed from marital abuse, and said Fuller had accepted no responsibility for what amounted to a murder plan to seize power. During the trial, prosecutors' witnesses described Fuller as obsessed with Juga, causing her harm in school and harassing her at work and at home, even days before the killing.
Juga home, Your Honor, is a tomb. Their home is a graveyard of memories.
Kenosha County District Attorney Michael Gravely said he's one of those rare individuals who is willing to kill in order to maintain control. Gravely said, "There is no regret in this situation, Judge. It's mind-boggling that there is no regret in this situation." This is TJ Lane. He will spend the rest of his life in jail for murdering 3 classmates and injuring 3 more in the Chardon High School cafeteria. Lane, who was wearing a white t-shirt with the word killer printed across the front, remarked before his sentencing.
Saying pull the trigger that killed your son, masturbates to memory. Love you.
At that time, gasps could be heard across the courtroom, and several in the gallery started to weep. Bilichik informed Lane of his rights, and Lane instantly claimed that he was the only perpetrator of the shooting. When asked why, Lane stated that he had no idea. Lane informed Bilichik that he had killed a bunch of people. When Bilichik questioned him, he said, "I don't know." When asked why, he said, "I don't really understand myself." Lane, according to the deputy, informed him that he was going for heads so kids wouldn't suffer. Bilichik inquired as to whether Lane was suicidal, used drugs or alcohol, or suffered from depression. Lane said no. His case looked to rest on his mental condition from the start of his defense. He first pleaded not guilty due to insanity. Dr. Philip Resnick, a psychiatric professor at Case Western Reserve University, said last year at a hearing that Lane suffers from major mental issues, such as auditory hallucinations, despair, and uncontrollable fantasies that occupy his head. Regardless, Cayuga County Juvenile Court Judge Timothy Grendel determined that he was competent to stand trial in his court. Grendel eventually moved the matter to Fury's courts, where youngsters were tried as adults. Lane's competence was assessed in a second review, and officials said that the flaws identified in the first report were not present in the second study. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel. Also, hit that notification bell so you stay up to date on all our latest content. We'll see you in the next one.